Welcome back to the podcast where we talk everything NFFL and NFL. Wherever you may be listening, we thank you for making us part of your day. I am your host, Bo Shefty, and I am joined again today by my all-star crew, Steve.
Yo, what up?
Smoking Joe.
Hey, what's going on?
Brody.
What's up, my guys?
What's up, man? So before we dive in, we have a special guest, and I would like to introduce to you Commissioner and founder of the NFFL, Christian Lopez. Thank you, Bo. Lady and gentlemen, I reached out to you today to cover a few things. First off, I want to thank you all for an incredible season. This season has been hit from multiple angles, so thank you all for adapting and for your continued effort. Second, we are entering week 11. Still only roughly 30% of you have paid your fees. I've reached out numerous times, provided different methods to include a payment plan. When it's all over, you expect me to pay up fairly quick, right? I expect the same from you. Please, get those fees in. I know you're all good for it, but please, help relieve this stress of mine. Third, we all paid or will pay the same $100 fee. We are all in this with one goal in mind. All we can do is control our team. If your method is to live and die with your squad, that's your decision. No one can say otherwise. If your method is to continue and try and better your squad via trade, no one can say otherwise. Doesn't matter if you are 3-7 or 7-3. Records separate the two, but the goal to win remains the same. You should strive to get better. Fortunately, as we enter week 11, no team has mathematically been eliminated. Quite frankly, I think this is the first time we go this far without elimination. 2 games separate the 6th seed from the 12th seed with 3 games remaining. This will not be the case come week 12, where I predict we will have some teams eliminated. With that said, windows are still open. Continue to fight. Continue to look for ways to better your team. On a final note, as commissioner, I'm sure we all know this, but I see exactly what you see. Nothing more, nothing less. I have powers over certain adjustments. Mostly, my powers are for the development of the league. I cannot control the waiver system. Waivers process at a different time every week. Some people stay up. Some set an alarm to wake them up around the time waivers usually go through, all to gain an edge on free agents. To be clear, I cannot see other teams submitted claims, and I do not tamper with the waiver system. Thank you all again. Good luck to you with the remainder of your season, and I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, Bo. Thank you, Commissioner. Well, that was nice of him to join us. Any thoughts on the Commissioner's comments before?
We should have booed that guy off the podium, dude.
All right, yeah, that's what everybody does.
Yeah.
Well said.
All right. What was that?
Good comments. Well said.
That was well said.
Well
Yeah,
said.
thanks. Thanks for gracing us with his presence.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. That was great. Yeah.
I know, right?
Okay, so we're on to week 11. Fucking time flies. Only 3 games remain. Still no team has been eliminated. We'll do a quick recap of week 10, which was just one of those weeks for many, but not for one. And I'm speaking of Steel Tits, who not only takes care of the West's number 1 Avengers, but also comes out with the highest score in week 10 with 175 points. We hyped this team up last week, guys, and she definitely proved us right. Takes care of business against Avengers with 175 to 105. Kyler Murray doing Kyler Murray things. Big Hail Mary pass, guys. Did you guys catch that to DeAndre Hopkins?
Man, ridiculous.
Yeah, badass.
Mark Andrews does his thing. Nick Chubb runs out of bounds on a 50-yard run wide open. Wouldn't have made a difference in this scenario. That would have been an additional 8 points that we could have tallied here, though. I got nothing much to say. She took care of business when she was supposed to take care of business. Avengers was weak with no Travis Kelce, no Amari Cooper. Actually, yeah, no Amari Cooper. I got nothing more to say on this one. Steve, you got anything?
Yeah, I mean, huge games from Hines, 28.5 points. McKissick, another big game, 17.9 points. These are players that we deemed last week as flyers. And also Marvin Jones suddenly is playing well, 17 points over the last 4 weeks on average after getting off to a slow start. And the team was able to score 175 points without Carson and Tyreek Hill. And again, proved to be probably the most dangerous team going into the playoffs. On the convention side, there just wasn't enough depth to overcome the deficit. Even with starters, I'm not sure they reach 175 points. I know AVK is still waiting for that breakout game from Connor. He's kind of been a disappointment since the trade for Devontae, while Devontae's been explosive for the Schmucks. That's all I got.
Brody?
Yeah, man.
Steel Tits, man. She got carried by Marvin Jones. He was the lone receiver that showed up. But she's getting really lucky with Hines, and she's getting these unsung heroes. They're stepping up.
Yeah. Yep. Smoking Joe?
Not really, just Marvin Jones, like Steve said, it's been eating since Galladay went down. So as long as Galladay's still out, Marvin Jones going to continue to put up numbers for Steel Tits. So, and then Carson's probably we'll get into Carson. I don't think he's going to be back next week, but you get Tyreek Hill back. I mean, because Parker and Robbie Anderson underperformed this week when you thought they were going to have pretty big weeks. But you get Tyreek Hill against the COVID defense, failed defense with the Raiders. So that's all I got for that. Avengers, it was just a bad week, man. And a lot of bye weeks and a lot of Derek Carr just doing Derek Carr things. So that's all I got for this matchup.
Well, both moved to a 7-3 record. Cavender's still holding that number one spot over Schmucks, the number one overall spot. They play next week, and only 14 points separates the two of them. But overall, like you all said, still takes care of business. 7-3. Oh, I got nothing more to say on that. Moving forward, Jack's Capital over Line Junk. Jack's Capital wins 156.5 to 143.5. I mean, Josh Jacobs, Lamar Jackson, they pretty much, and Antonio Gibson pretty much carried the Jack's Capital to a victory here. Lamar Jackson was playing in that, I don't know if you guys saw the Sunday night football game, but it was pouring rain and somehow still come out with 24 points. You got to be happy about that. Antonio Gibson, no longer in this team. We'll get into that later, but puts up 22.5 points here. James Robinson, quiet night, but Josh Jacobs, 30 points. This game was a lot closer than we thought it was because I think Jack's Capital was projected to win by over 30, and this is a 13-point game, and it came down to pretty much the last minute here with Lamar Jackson. Aaron Rodgers doing Aaron Rodgers things, man, 33 points. Juju Smith-Schuster and Deontay Johnson, those two, man, Steelers have woken. They have woken. We'll get into Juju Smith-Schuster stats, but let's just say that Juju Smith-Schuster, the last 4 games, has been putting up some numbers. Steve, you got anything on this?
Yeah, I'll start off with the Jack's Capital. Big win for them to stay in contention for that top spot in the East. Like you mentioned, huge game from Jacobs and Gibson. MT still off to a slow start, but we don't expect that to continue, even with Breeze out. And he's got a favorable schedule down the stretch, very much in play for that top spot, like I said. And then on Line Junk side, I mean, smart pickup to grab Balaj this week to fill in for both his RBs who were both on bye. This game, like you said, was a lot more competitive than I initially anticipated. I mentioned last week that I wasn't a big fan of 2 wide receivers from the same team on your starting lineup, but he proved me wrong. Both Juju and Deontay went over 20 points last week. So,
Brody, anything on this?
Line Junk put out the best team that he could. He didn't leave any points on the board, so he shouldn't be down on that. And Jack's Capital, I mean, Jackson doing it in the rain, Jacobs coming through, and Thomas is going to show up eventually. He's just working his way back in, so it's nothing but up from here.
Well, I'm sure Jack's Capital hopes for that. Smoking Joe?
No, you guys pretty much touched on everything on that matchup.
All right, we're going to move forward to Chain Gang, who continues to impress. Takes care of Crumb Duster, 141.7 to 108.1. Josh Allen's 31 points. Darrell Henderson's 10. Aaron Jones 14. T. Higgins, 23.5 points. Marcus Valdez-Scantling, 29.9. I mean, Chain Gang he's still making a push. We'll get into that in the playoff picture later, but he's still making a push. On the other side, Crumb Duster, quiet day overall, 108 points total. Nothing too special on this end. Drew Lock gets hurt. I don't even know if he plays this week, but we'll see. I'm sorry, not Drew Lock. Wow, Drew Brees. But we'll see how this turns out. Steve?
Yeah, like you said, for Crumb Duster, the loss of Drew Brees definitely hurts him. I'm sure he was relying on him, especially without CMC. Jonathan Taylor's been a huge disappointment. And the team overall barely got over 100 points in a much-needed game. This team probably needs to make a move. I'm sure we'll get into that later because on paper right now, the team just doesn't look very talented. For Team Chain Gang, that's 2 weeks in a row where Marquez Valdez-Scantling makes the most of his low targets / receptions. He had basically 30 points. Unfortunately, he is 3-7, so playoffs is a tall task. But that doesn't make this team an easy win. They're definitely talented, and they can still play spoiler down the stretch.
Brody?
Chain Gang, I mean, he's doing well since the trade. Something shifted, some energy went his way. So he's on a 2-game winning streak now. And I don't know, Crumb Duster, he sat Allen Robinson. I wouldn't have done that. I mean, you got to start him every week. And he's got some things to overcome. He lost Breeze. He's lost McCaffrey. So it's gonna be tough.
Smoking Joe?
Team Chain Gang, not only can they play spoiler, they could sneak in the playoffs if they went out. Their team looks pretty solid if you think about it. I mean, David Montgomery was out last week with a concussion. He should be coming back pretty soon. So that gives you another running back to throw in there instead of Henderson. I mean, A.J. Brown's not going to have 3 points next week. That's not usual for him. That's not normal for him to score that low. He could still sneak in there. I mean, his team looks pretty solid. Josh Allen's been, putting up consistent 30-point games. So Aaron Jones is going to get back into the swing of things, and they could still get that 6th seed, man. I mean, we're coming down to the wire here for the playoff push. So Crumb Duster, on the other hand, looks like they're trending down. Jonathan Taylor doesn't look as hot as he did at the beginning of the season. There seems to be a running back by committee going out there in Indianapolis. I mean, like Brody said, Robinson should have been in that lineup, and that he should be in the lineup every week. I mean, I know he didn't perform or did well this week, but you don't bench Allen Robinson. You can't do that, man. You have Zach Moss in the lineup at a flex. I mean, come on, you gotta put up points there. You can't be losing these matchups. You're slowly starting to fall down. I mean, by next week we could be seeing Crumb Duster number 12 in Team Chain Gang 7 or 8, 6 or 7. So.
Yeah, definitely. We'll get into that in the playoff picture because these 3-7 teams, Brody and Chain Gang, they still have a shot. More particularly Chain Gang, but it's not over. We're going to move on to Schmucks versus Super Saiyan French Fries, where Schmucks takes care of business 140.3 to 98.1. Super Saiyan French Fries fails to hit the 100 mark. This was a quarterback battle. That's what I like to call this one, a quarterback battle. Russell Wilson, 9 points versus Carson Wentz's 8.4 points. You don't see that, but it happens. It was one of those weeks. Alvin Kamara gives you 34.8 points. Ronald Jones, 28.8 points. Out of those 28 points, 18 of those points come on that 197-yard touchdown play. Devontae Adams doing Devontae Adams things, 18.6. So Schmucks they're still trucking. On the other side, Super Saiyan French Fries. I mean, 9 points for Russell Wilson, that doesn't happen. But a good return for Miles Sanders as he gives you 13.5 points. A solid That was a solid game for him. However, he's no longer on this squad as well. Tyler Lockett, Jesus, 12.6. Travis Fulgham, 1.8. Kyle Rudolph, 8.3. Big game for DeAndre Hopkins. He caught that Hail Mary. Got that catch was spectacular. 28.7 points. Not enough to get you over the Schmucks. They're still sixth place with a 5-5 record. What do you got on this, Steve?
Yeah, the Schmucks, hottest team in the league right now, 4-game winning streak. No any real weaknesses on this team other than that QB spot, but you can always plug somebody in and get you 15 to 20 points. And then for French fries, probably the most disappointing team this week. They had most of their starters. They didn't even crack 100 points. And winning this game would have put them in a great spot or in a great position to win that, to compete for that top spot in the West. But losing, he's given a lot of life to those teams behind him. Now he's got, 3 or more teams fighting for that spot. He still controls his own destiny, but that top spot may be out of reach. He's got to win this week, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Brody?
Smuck. You know what? I can understand. Maybe he didn't want to start Newton because he might have heard it was going to rain. So I can understand starting Wentz. And Ronald Jones stepped up. You don't really expect that kind of performance from him, considering Fournette's on the team too. And Metcalf, you got to live and die with him. It's going to happen. Players have bad games, but he can give you a 40-point game. So that's he still won the week, so there's nothing to be down about. And Super Saiyan, just a bad week. It's just, Wilson didn't perform. He hasn't been performing well for 2 weeks. Maybe what's this guy, Fulgham, or from the Eagles? I wouldn't have put him in. He has Shark on the bench. You gotta start him. He's capable of 30-point games every week. So that's what I got on that.
Smoking Joe?
Not much to touch on here. Just like Brody said, I wouldn't have benched Shark over Fulham. I get the matchup. The Giants, pretty good matchup, but when you got Carson Wentz throwing the ball out there, you don't know what's going to happen in Philly. So, even with this is his third quarterback now that DJ Chark has, or second quarterback, he's still, giving you solid numbers at least, So I would have still threw Chark out there. I don't think it would have made a big difference, but, you just want to put your best lineup each week. That's pretty much all I got for this matchup.
Yeah, I think the only other one that kind of caught me a little bit off guard was Wayne Gallman. I think I would have started him over Gordon. He's been playing well lately.
So Denver running backs are just, that whole offense is just erratic. You don't know what you're going to get out of them, And I'm not sure. I don't even know if Drew Lock is going to continue to start out there. He hasn't been looking good at all.
Yeah, he might not even play this week. But okay, so we'll move forward. We'll move to Childish Trubino, who beats Team Brody 131.3 to 111.2. He was a little bit of the underdog in this game. Pulls it out, wins by 20. Justin Herbert, BDH doing BDH things, 25 points. Big game for Justin Jefferson. Other than that, it was a pretty average day for the Trubino squad. On the Brody, man, Tua, who would have thought? You'll take 18.9 points. DJ Moore, 20 points. You'll take that. Tyler Boyd, he was 10 points. That's a little bit under his average there. But not enough to get over this. Not enough to win this one. I got nothing much. You got anything, Steve?
Yeah, huge win for Trubino. Overall, solid performance, especially without the services of Mahomes and Julio, who were on buys. That receiving core looks strong, man, with Julio, Allen, and Jefferson. And, we all know how explosive they can be, and then you add Mahomes into that equation. Definitely won't be an easy out. Definitely a threat to make the playoffs and even make noise if they get that far. As far as Brody, fourth straight loss, trending down, injury-plagued year. That's all I really got on that.
Yeah, this was a good win for Childish. I mean, he needed the win. He got the win. Could have been worse. I think so, because he didn't have Mahomes or Jones out there, so the score would have been a little bit different. But Brody, he's trying to shoestring this roster together, trying to put some points, any kind of points he could find. But Keenan Cole, Childish Rubino, he's got Keenan Cole on the bench. I think you can trust starting him every week, especially in the flex. I don't know, whatever they're doing in Jacksonville, they're getting it done, even though there's no real future there. But
there's really, if anything, there's really no starting spot for Keenan Cole, because you think about it, Keenan Allen's gonna start every week. Justin Jefferson's pretty much a start every week, and then you got Julio. I mean, those are pretty much set in stone. I mean, maybe your flex, you could start putting him on your flex, maybe.
Well, what about Corey Davis? You could take him out.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, probably. You put him in the flex to have your 3 starting. Yeah. I'll probably do that. You're right.
All right, we're going to move away from this matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Bungo versus Cream Pies. Cream Pies comes out with the victory here, 158.1 to 109.5. Cream Pies is back. Are they back, guys? Because they weren't baking any pies last 2 weeks. But they definitely put up 158 today, this past week. Tom Brady, 38.2 points. Derrick Henry, 12.9. Big game for Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs, both combined for about 45 points. Big game for Cream Pies. They needed this bounce-back game. It happened. And the Mr. Bungo side, I mean, DeAndre Swift, this guy kind of came out of nowhere, man. But he's been playing well as of late. 19 points for Mike Evans. Curtis Samuel comes back down to earth. I don't see anything else we can talk about on that side. There was no Ezekiel Elliott. It was on a bye. What do you got on this, Steve?
Yeah, for Mr. Bungo at 3-7, this team is probably where they should be. I mean, they haven't really had any injuries to plague their season. Zeke has been a disappointment, the last month. Mike Evans up and down this year. That was his first 2 picks in the draft. And, when your first 2 picks are inconsistent, it's hard to win games. They may need to make a move at this point, but for me, I mean, it looks like they may be out of the playoff picture, even though they're at 3-7. Still not mathematically out. And then for Cream Pies, I mean, yeah, they're definitely back from their 2-week hiatus. Like I said, it wasn't a talent issue for this team. They've got a good team. They finally showed up, and they're back in contention for that top spot in the East. Even with the losses of Kittle and David Johnson, this team is very dangerous.
Cream Pie, he's getting some good numbers from Brady. I mean, I don't know if anybody expected him to put up these numbers at 42 years old.
Everybody just forget last week, though, right? Last week didn't count.
What was last week? What did you do last week? Oh, 2 points. Damn. Okay, correction. Well, it's football any given Sunday. Yep. And let's see. Who do you have? Okay. And Beasley, he got 29 points, but you know what? I wouldn't stress that. I wouldn't even flip-flop back and forth thinking I would start him or not. That's Josh Allen, he's slinging it. He's getting the job done over there. So, I mean, and it shows because Diggs is the number 1 receiver this year. So, some good things happen in Buffalo. And Mr. Bungle, you got to keep starting Swift. He's a starter going forward. There's no doubt about that. He took that job over. And you know what? Kenny Galladay's going to be back. He can depend on him going forward. But tough week.
It's quickly, is T.Y. Hilton droppable now at this point? Because he has not done anything this season.
I drop him. I would drop him. Yeah, I would drop him. Yeah.
What about A.J. Green? 0 points this past week, dude. 0 eggs.
I mean, Corey Davis had 0 last week. It happens. I mean, CeeDee Lamb got them near 0. It happens, but I don't think I'm quite ready to drop AJ Green yet. I mean, it also depends
Tyler Boyd
what's
or
available. It also
T.
depends what's
Higgins and Tyler
available.
Boyd. Yeah, true.
It all depends what's. I mean, like, you know what? That's a nice little handcuff to Tyler Boyd. He gets hurt or T. Higgins, those targets are going to come his way.
True.
Okay, so that covers that. Quick.
Oh, one quick though. Damian Harris looks like he's back going forward, man. He's been looking pretty good the last 2 weeks, man. And
Yeah, we're definitely gonna. Damian Harris is a topic in the name game. Just a quick touch on DeAndre Swift. Can you guys throw? What do you think his average has points per game in the last 5 games? What do you think it is? Just throw a number out there.
For
18.
Hopkins?
For Swift. For
You
Swift.
said last
Swift?
3 games?
Last 5
games.
Last 5.
Last
Oh,
5
5
games.
games. I don't
18.
know. Let's go 16.
Brody, what do you think?
Damn. Yeah, I'll say 15.
Smoking Joe, what do you think?
18.
18. You're closer. You take it. DeAndre Swift has been averaging 17.4 in the last 5 games. You'll
Yeah,
take
he's
that all
been-
day, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely,
that's RB1 numbers almost, you know.
Yeah,
pretty much.
damn right it is.
Yeah.
And what Damian Harris in the last 3 games averaging 12.4. So, but he is he is averaging the last 3 games. He's gotten 1 touchdown, 17 carries, and averaging 17 carries per game. He's got 102 yards, 71 yard, 121 yard game last 3 games. So yes, Damian Harris is the guy.
The only thing that sucks about owning Damian Harris is that in the red zone, Cam Newton's the one stealing all the rushing touchdowns when they get down there.
Yeah, he's
Definitely.
vulturing.
Yeah.
So now that we've kind of moved away from the week, we've covered the recap to week 10. We're going to segue real quick and we're going to talk trades, waivers, and handcuffs. Steve, I want you to kind of just go over the trades the 2 main trades that took place this past week. Then we'll hit it with the like. Do we like it? Do we love it? Do we hate it? You know, we'll all put in our 2 cents. You can kick it off.
All right. So for the first trade that we saw this week, we had Jack's Capital trading Antonio Gibson coming off a strong game to Childish Drubino for Antonio Gibson. I'm sorry, for Justin Herbert. My bad. Overall, I mean, as far as me, I initially said I loved this trade for Childish Drubino, but now kind of looking at the timing of the trade, I only like it only because I feel like it may be a little too late. Childish Drubino, looking back at his schedule, I want to highlight on one game where he played against Cream Pies back in week 7. He lost by 16 points. If he would have traded one of those QBs for a running back, it didn't have to be Gibson. It could have been anybody else. A 16-point loss isn't that big. Maybe he could have found somebody to kind of get him that victory. And then you fast forward to today and, he's 5-5 or maybe even better than that. So that's my only concern, with only 3 games left. Not sure if it's a little too late. Maybe he held on to the QBs a little too long. But overall, I do like the trade for both teams because Lamar Jackson for Jack's Capital has been a little bit disappointing, which is shocking to me because now he's going to be replaced by a rookie. But, overall, I like the trade for both teams, though. I just fear that it might be a little too late for Drubino, but we'll see.
What are your comments on it, Brody?
I like the trade. Anytime you can land a starting running back and one that has the secure role, you gotta like it. He had an extra QB. He flipped that into a running back, so there's nothing wrong with it. And Gibson, he's producing. He's been a pretty good surprise. What is he? He's like number 13 right now on a Washington team, and he's got 2 good games coming up: Cincinnati, Dallas. And then he's got a pretty tough game against the Steelers in week 13, but we're not going to look that far ahead. But, I mean, he's got a good schedule coming up. I like the trade.
Smoking Joe?
I like the trade for both teams. Justin Herbert's been, not looking like a rookie. He's been looking like he belongs in the league and been getting you a solid 25 points and above. So That's a good pickup for Jack's Capital because I don't know, this year Lamar Jackson hasn't, feel like they've gotten more film on him and they've kind of figured out what Baltimore is running out there. Last year I feel was the first season that he was the starter and he kind of took the league by surprise. And this year he got tape on him and defenses are adjusting, so they've kind of slowed him down a little bit. So Herbert to Jack's Capital is a good upgrade at quarterback. And for Childish Reno, Antonio Gibson's a solid pickup, man. RB2 numbers, he's going to get you receptions in Washington over there. He's going to run the ball, and he's a solid RB2 pickup. Reno's going to have to make a late push, though, to get into the playoffs. He's got a kind of tough matchups coming up on the schedule for him, so he's got to win them out from here on out. So we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I think I like this trade. The only thing that I might on the Gibson side here is, and have you guys seen J.D. McKissic's numbers? But the fact that he's still getting those numbers and Gibson's still getting his number, I guess, kind of offset. I mean, we could argue that, but McKissick's there. So is
Alex
Gibson
Smith
really
Alex Smith is always gonna dump the ball off. He's a veteran quarterback. He's not gonna throw interceptions. He's gonna take care of the ball. So
yeah, he's gonna manage the game.
Pretty much his whole career, he's done that. Yeah.
And Gibson's gonna get those receptions, those dump off receptions, and we're in a PPR league, so those matter.
Yeah, McKissick's been out. I'm speaking J.D. McKissick. He's been averaging 14.6 points in the last 4 games. He's got he got 7 receptions this past game, 9 the game before. So as soon as Alex Smith kind of is taking those snaps, 9 and 7 receptions per game, you'll take those. So I don't know if you're gonna really expect that from Gibson going forward. I mean, if he can get involved in there, but we'll see. Overall, I think it's a good trade. Lamar Jackson still puts up over 23 points in a rainy day. So I don't know. There's a lot to be. I mean, there's a lot going on in Jack's Capital. Do they keep Lamar? Do they move him towards this? What can they even get out of him? I don't know. We'll see.
I think it's a good value for Jax because Herbert can be a security. He's insurance. If Jack's Capital feels like Lamar's not producing, just put in Herbert. It's like this week specifically. Herbert plays the Jets and Jackson plays Tennessee, and Tennessee's ranked 29th against quarterbacks. So that's a flip flop. Like you can go back and forth. So it's a tough decision right there.
Yeah, definitely.
It's an easy decision. You go with whoever's playing the Jets.
That's right.
The 0-9 Jets. You're gonna start whoever's playing the Jets.
But I mean, the Titans made Phillip Rivers look like he was Phillip Rivers from San Diego. So
yeah.
Oh, good one.
There you go.
All right, Steve, you got info on that other trade that went down?
Yeah, so the big one, right? I mean, we get Miles Sanders from French Fries going over to Avengers for I should say Miles Sanders and Kyle Rudolph going over to Avengers for Raheem Mostert, Amari Cooper, and Duke Johnson. I love the trade for both teams. I feel like with Amari Cooper, it gives you that insurance for Tyler Lockett, in case he does miss tomorrow's game. It is a short week, and he did have a knee injury last game. Mostert was playing really well before he got injured. He'll be back next week. And then Duke Johnson, I mean, with David Johnson out, for 2 more games, he's got 2 favorable matchups coming up, 19th ranked defense and then a 32nd ranked defense after that. He's getting carries, just he didn't produce last week. And he's more of a passing threat anyway, and he had 0 catches last week. So I don't expect that to continue. I expect him to do well. And then obviously Miles Sanders, RB1, but coming off injury. So we'll see how he plays out for the Avengers. But overall, I love the trade for both teams.
Yeah, definitely. It was a good trade for both. Avengers gets a solid, a really good running back. He's gonna produce in PPR. because I mean that's pretty much all they have in Philadelphia. He's got Connor, Cook, and Sanders. That's a pretty lethal triple threat right there. And French fries, he gets Cooper. That's a reliable receiver. I don't know about his ceiling now that Dak's gone, but these both teams did well.
Smoking Joe.
I feel like both teams got a pretty good deal from it. I mean, I feel like Avengers picked up the best player overall, Miles Sanders, but I also like that Super Saiyan got potentially 3 starters because, I mean, I understand Raheem Mostert's out, but as soon as he gets healthy, he's back in that lineup. The Niners, he's the number 1 back in San Francisco. Duke Johnson has some favorable matchups where, it remains to be seen if he'll take advantage of those matchups. And Mari Cooper, I mean, with the red rifle coming back, he could maybe put up more numbers. Dalton might sling the ball, he might not, but this Ricky looked pretty decent against the week before against the Steelers. I know they had a bye week last week, but he looks like he's slinging the ball at least. So Mari Cooper he has potential to put up numbers. He also has potential to put up a dud. So, I mean, that's what you got to do with these trades, man. You gotta be willing to risk one of your players, the best players, to get some good players in return. So, I think it's a good trade for both teams.
Yeah, I think coming in when I saw the trade, I hated the trade. I hated the trade. I thought it made no sense. I love the trade for on the Avenger side. I hated the trade for the Super Saiyan French fries just because I felt that this trade was done too early. Like this trade didn't make sense to go down this week, but it would make sense next week. And I only speak because of Mostert's bye. I like it now though. Looking forward to it. I mean, I'm looking ahead, and it's a good trade for both sides. I just thought it would make more sense to kind of hold on to Sanders when you're in a must-win situation. You know what I mean? Like when you're 5-5, you're holding on to that 6th seed, and Duke Johnson is not better than Miles Sanders, and you really don't need that much help right now at wide receiver for Cooper to come in and make up for that difference. So I didn't really like it as much on the Super Saiyan French fry side for it to be done this week, but I mean,
you can't wait though. If you're the Super Saiyan French fries, you can't wait. You got to make moves now. I mean, you look at his running backs, his other running backs. You got Melvin Gordon. Do you really trust Melvin Gordon from him going on out? No. I mean,
you don't. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like if he would have held out to after this week, you still get the same deal, but you have Miles Sanders this week. I mean, overall, I like the trade. I'm just saying, I think the trade happened a week early.
If I can chime in, I think the uncertainty of Tyler Lockett playing tomorrow on a short week after an injury may have factored into making him make this trade now as opposed to waiting. Because if he's out, then you do got to plug somebody in to replace him, right? So that's what I'll say about that.
That's a good point. I mean, we don't know that situation, which we'll get into the injury report with. And we'll get into that now. Actually, you know what? Before that, we'll cover waivers real quick. Do you guys have any thoughts on the waivers that went down this past week?
Not really. I mean, I would say.
I think the biggest target was Ahmed, right? Running back for the Dolphins. What do you guys feel like he's going to produce to? Who is it? Drew Bino that acquired him.
Drew Bino. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to expect from that guy, Salvin Ahmed. I mean, I don't know. I think Breida might be coming back. I don't know if that's going to eat into his carries. He looked good, but against that Chargers defense, they really haven't stopped anyone from running the ball. So I don't know if Breida's going to take away carries from Ahmed. I mean, he was the hottest waiver wire pickup this week, but I just don't know. It's just one game. I need to see a little bit more before I put him in a lineup. But it's a solid pickup just in case, because if he gets another good game in, he might be the starter from here on out, and then you have a gem right there on your bench too, you know. So
Right. No, and just to piggyback off that, I agree. I mean, I'm not sure how reliable Ahmed is. I see him in the starting lineup this week. I probably would play Bell over Ahmed personally, but I mean, he was, the highest running back on the waiver wire. You might as well pick him up. You need a running back, even if you're just going to stash him on your bench. But I don't know about starting him. But I mean, like I said, he was the best player available on the waiver wire as far as running backs, and we know how scarce they are. So.
Yeah, Drubino, he's just, he's got to stay competitive. You got to keep making moves to keep yourself ahead of the game. There's no certainty because Breida just practiced today, so there's, they could be splitting carries. So, but it's a good risk. So it's a good pickup.
Yeah, I like the pickup. 21 carries for 85 yards and a touchdown against the Chargers last week. He pretty much got all of those carries. Gaskin is still out for one more week. He'll finish his third week of IR this week. I guess the only thing here that, I would start him over Bell, honestly, and that's my opinion. But
I don't know, man. Bell's going against that COVID defense this week, so I don't know.
Yeah, but
if it's a blowout, I think Le'Veon's gonna get those,
right,
those carries in
I would definitely go
garbage time.
Well, we'll see who's right, who's wrong come next Tuesday. But I would start Ahmed this week over Bell. That's my start and sit. If you guys want to start Bell, that's your call. But I like it. I like his performance. His 21 carries. They're giving him everything, and it's against Denver. They're not scary, so we'll see. But I like the pickup. Nothing really else. Sammy Watkins goes to Super Saiyan French fries. That's a nice little handcuff there to Tyreek Hill, even though they don't own Tyreek, but Sammy Watkins is still puts up his numbers. I got nothing really else to say on waivers. We pretty much touched this.
What do you guys think on Jameis Winston? What are you guys thoughts on him going forward?
You know what? I think that benefits Thomas because, Winston will give it back to the defense, but he's got a good possibility of airing it out, and maybe this might be the week that Thomas put some numbers up with Winston at quarterback.
Right, I was gonna say I don't think Winston's gonna mess around, and he's gonna try to get it to Michael Thomas. At least he should, So I think it definitely benefits Michael Thomas more than benefiting the team who actually picked him up. But overall, not a bad pickup. He was picked up by Cream Pies. He's got Tom Brady, who's who can have these monster games, but you never know. He can follow up a monster game with a 2-point game like he did last week. So. Definitely somebody good to have on your bench,
Yeah, that's what you're getting with Jameis Winston, man. Mr. 30 for 30, man.
That's true. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, he's gonna sling 30 touchdowns, but he's gonna get you 30 interceptions. And I think he's gonna open up that offense. To be honest, I think that they're gonna throw the ball downfield more because Drew Brees has been looking a little old as of late. He's been throwing little 5-10 yard passes. He's not going deep like they usually go. So. Michael Thomas is the biggest benefactor from this injury that Drew Brees had. So, and I don't think it affects the running back so much. I think they're still going to get their yardage on the ground. If anything, play action and all that's going to open up as well. And you're still going to dump it to the running back. So I think, I don't know. I think New Orleans might maybe be better with Jameis in there, but Drew Brees is Drew Brees. Yeah. He's a Hall of Famer, and I still think he's the quarterback in New Orleans. But Jameis Winston has a shot to prove himself and shine. So if he's on fire, I don't know if you bench him, but it's too early to tell. It's just all speculation right now. So
yeah, and I was gonna say I don't know if Jameis has ever had a running back like Kamara. You know what I mean? Like if there's nothing on the field, just dump it off to your best player. And he'll do something with it. So that could be a way also for him. To not make turnovers, right? To kind of take care of the ball better. Just dump it off to your best player, if you don't find anybody down the field. So, maybe he'll have maybe he'll expand that offense like Smoke and Joe said.
You know what? Let's remember that the Saints play the Falcons this week. So if these guys don't show up against the Falcons, then there's some wrong there.
Yeah.
That defense, they'll let anybody score. So
Yeah.
this is the best week for Winston and Thomas to show up.
Yeah, what quarter did Drew Brees go down last week? You guys
I want
remember?
to say the third quarter, but I don't remember, honestly.
Okay. Well, I mean, we'll say Winston had two quarters. We'll just say he had 2 quarters, threw for 63 yards. So it isn't like he. I mean, I get it. This will be probably the first week he has snaps with the number 1 team. So with the number 1 squad. So hopefully that gets better but you're not happy with what you saw from those 2 quarters out of Winston. Real quick though, while we're on this New Orleans Saints thing, Taysom Hill, who is a tight end / quarterback in ESPN leagues. We know he takes snaps, and I mean, I'm surprised he's still on waivers here since we're talking about waivers, because for those that are in the tight end needy right now, I mean, while he still holds that tight end and quarterback, you can start him as your tight end spot, and he will get you quarterback points if he takes, say, 10% of the snaps or whatever. You know, you never know. But he's out there, just throwing that out there, man, for the tight end needy.
Big flyer, I think, man. But yeah, I mean, if he's available, I don't. There's not a lot of good tight ends available, so you know.
Yeah.
If this was a 18 league team, then probably. But this is 12.
18 league team.
This is 12 teams, so I'm pretty sure that Hill's gonna chill on the waiver wire.
Okay. All right, just throwing him out there. I mean, teams are obviously not going after him, but he's there. And all right, we'll move away from that. I want to talk real quick about.
If Jameis Winston gets hurt, then you go for Taysom. But nah, I'm passing on Taysom.
I think it's more like play this week, you know, because after this week, you'll see something, and ESPN's gonna revert that setting of tight end / QB, and then it's just kind of those like 1 week like bucket flyer, you know.
And I don't think they will, to be honest, dude, because those type of gadget players, they always have two positions on them. Like, let's say Cordero Patterson, he's always had that running back and wide receiver, you know. And there's always these, like, certain gadget players that have 2 positions. I think Taysom Hill's always been one of those guys, but you don't want Taysom Hill on your team, dude. They just throw him in there for trick plays, man.
Yeah. I mean, I think he keeps the same role that he had with Breeze, where he just continues to be Hill. Let's segue to handcuffs and just speak on the importance of a handcuff. We're approaching the playoffs, right? So for those, this is just my recommendation, but for those teams that own, you know, those top 10, top 12 players that are giving you the 28, 27 points per game, 30 points per game as we approach the playoff, like, you need to go after that handcuff. Like, I know as Jack's Capital, we went after Devontae Booker, even James Robinson's handcuff. But I just want to note a couple players out here. Alvin Kamara, 28 points per game. You want Latavius Murray. Dalvin Cook, 28 points per game. You want Alexander Madison. Cream Pies has Stephon Diggs, who's averaging damn near 20 points per game. He also has Cole Beasley. That's good, you know. Devontae Adams, averaging 27 points per game. You want to have, like, Alan Lazard, who the first 3 weeks was averaging 17.7 points per game. Or Marcus Valdez-Scantling. DeAndre Hopkins, if you own DeAndre Hopkins, 20 points per game. You want Christian Kirk or Larry Fitzgerald, who's on your bench. Tyreek Hill, averaging over 20 points per game. You want Sammy Watkins, or I think she already owns Nico Hardman or whatever. If you own Derrick Henry, why don't you have Dante Foreman, who's averaging 9.3 points per game, with Derrick Henry on your squad? So you know, like, if Derrick Henry goes down, Dante Foreman's going to take care of you. CMC, Mike Davis, that's that whole, like, that there needs to be some sort of trade there. I don't know why, because both teams are still in contention. Miles Sanders, if you got Miles Sanders, who's averaging 16 points per 5, you want Boston Scott. Todd Gurley, if you got Todd Gurley, who's averaging 15.1, you want Brian Hill, who's averaging 17.6. And you know he's always part of that pass game in Atlanta. But I'm just trying to stress here is the importance of a handcuff. And as you hit the playoffs, your lineup is already set. You want that security. So whether if it's trading for that handcuff or going to the waiver wire and picking up that handcuff, this is just me throwing it out there, and you guys throw your 2 cents on there. But just wanted to just throw that out there for me unknown. You guys can chat over that.
And just to touch on the handcuffs, I completely understand your point of view on handcuffs. I agree with it. Like, you always want to have your handcuffs for your top player. I don't feel like it's always necessary. If you got players that are on your bench that could produce too as well, I feel like you can substitute the handcuff with that. You know, you don't need to have a handcuff, but you feel a lot more comfortable going on out owning that handcuff. You feel a lot safer with your team owning a handcuff. But it's not always necessary. But you want to be in contention just in case. What is, you know? If an emergency happens, he's right on your bench. You don't have to worry. You're not gonna get the same numbers, but it's not gonna be a big decline as opposed to you picking up someone off the waiver wire that's a flyer or something like that. You know, so that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I'm agree with the handcuff strategy, especially if you only go with 2 running backs in the draft. If you do that, then you're definitely gonna need their handicaps, because you can't really rely on another back that's on your bench, because you probably went, running back, and then you filled up the rest of your roster with your position players. So that in that situation, then the handcuff is really important. But if you got some insurance on the bench, then I guess you can survive with somebody going down. So the handicap is useful in that situation.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with pretty much all you guys. And also, if you don't have that handicap on your team, I mean, what are you willing to give up to get them? You also don't want to handicap your whole lineup, right? By giving up too many starters or even giving up a quality bench player for a handicap, because you want them on your team for the sake of, or for the potential of your star player getting hurt. So I don't know. I mean, it's like Smoke and Joe said, it's nice, to have that, but it may not always be necessary.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. That's really what it kind of boils down to, is if you can't acquire that on the waiver, what is the price to pay? Because reality it is that handcuff on that other team really serves them no value unless the starter gets hurt, right?
Right,
So,
absolutely.
and I'm bringing this up now as we approach trade deadline, because if you can get a piece that can help you out for a bench player, you're not going to ever start, and you're just going to have them there to hold out and hope Dalvin Cook or Alvin Kamara, or Devontae Adams gets hurt, like. And if you're in playoff contention, like, make a move, And obviously, we're not here to rob anybody, But
just
So
one
it's
quick
like
thought on. Just
it's
one
like
quick thought on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, just one quick thought on the handcuff thing. So, we're getting late into the season, right? And I've been in this situation before where you have a handcuff for one of these top players. He might not be on your team. Like, let's say I have Madison, right? He's on your bench and he's Dalvin Cook's handcuff, but you don't have Dalvin Cook. You own Madison, right? There comes a point where, like, one of your players gets hurt and you're having to make decisions on, like, do I want to get rid of this handcuff that's not going to give me any points? Am I going to stash him? And, like, I need to pick up somebody else. When do you let go of these handcuffs, or when do you trade them? Like, having a handcuff sometimes it's a dilemma. Like, if you don't have that star player along with it, if you're just hoping for somebody to get injured and you're just stashing them on your bench, but one of your starters is hurt and you have to pick someone off the waiver wire, it starts coming down to making decisions like, damn, who do I get rid of? Like, this handcuff is not giving me any points, but I'm still stashing them just in case, So should I trade them at this point? What do I do? So those are decisions that are coming down to the wire right now. And the trade deadline's next week. So there's going to be moves that need to be made. And, handcuffs are important, but for some teams, they're not necessary. You you got to make a different move. You can't just stash handcuffs either, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, like it's not going to benefit the owner of that handcuff if they don't have that starter, you know.
Exactly.
And mainly, like I said, like for the big guys, like for the Latavius Murrays, the Madisons, you know, the guys that you know will come in and provide solid numbers. Again, you can't – that player's not doing anything for you on your bench. You can't expect a RB1, shit, maybe even an RB2 for that value. There's always somewhere you can meet in between, but it's not like, oh, shit, I have your guy. Like, you're going to fucking pay me you're going to a whole lump sum, like your whole starters for your security. And like you've touched on it, it's not that worth it. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to give up your whole squad for a handcuff. But if you can get them at a solid price, like definitely, and I think it should be something that the guys that I named out earlier, something that you guys should kind of like pursue. Coming on down to 5 days, damn near 5 days to the trade deadline. So we're gonna segue away from this and move on to the injury report. Brody, what do you got on that, man?
All right, let's get into it. You guys have already touched on it. Nearly the entire Raiders starting defense is going on the COVID-19 list. Can you believe that? The whole defense. What's going on over there? What are they doing?
What does that mean? Are they not gonna?
You know what? You know what? It's the Raiders.
Dude,
I know this is surprising, dude.
It's the Raiders, bro. It's like the third time this year, man. Like,
But
fines, man. I see that.
Their
I see
whole
the
offensive
fines
line
coming.
was at the COVID list at one point, man. I was going down there in Vegas, man. They were out there partying too much. What's going on?
So the defense is eligible to play as long as they continue to test negative. So that's something to monitor, you know, till Sunday. But we'll see what happens there.
Don't pick up the Raiders defense.
Yeah. Or start every player against the Raiders defense, right?
There you go, yeah.
Christian McCaffrey ruled out for Sunday. Anthony Lynn says Kalen Ballage will be the primary back. He's going to get most of the looks. Devontae Adams is monitoring his ankle injury, but he says he says he's good to go. Let's see. Kenny Galladay, he's back at practice. Tyler Lockett, he's questionable for tomorrow. Chris Carson, also questionable for tomorrow, but is probably unlikely to play. Pete Carroll, he said, there's no doubt that Lockett will play tomorrow, providing his sprained knee comes out okay. Zeke also nursing a hamstring, but he said it's a little tight, but he's good to go. He practiced today. Michael Thomas, he wasn't on the injury report, so that's great for the Thomas owners. Calvin Ridley was limited in practice today. Raheem Morris said he's doing some drills and he's looking good. Let's see. Carlos Hyde, he's practicing, so you might want to consider him for a start in place of Carson. Matt Breida, he was a full go at practice today. Sam Darnold, he's expected to play this Sunday, so Jets get their quarterback back. Edelman's back off the IR. He'll probably be active in a week or so that's good for Cam. Stafford, he's got an injured thumb on his throwing hand, so that's another situation that you need to monitor, especially if you have Jones or Galladay. You know, I don't know who the backup is in Detroit, but that'll be a big drop off from Stafford. And Bridgewater, he's still nursing an injury. If he can't go, then it's PJ Walker time. Drew Lock also limited at practice. His status for Sunday is up in the air. Packers receiver Alan Lazard, he's back from the injury reserve, so that's good. Whoever owns him, he'll be ready to go. And Kyle Shanahan said that Raheem Mostert, will be back against the Rams on November 29th. So there's hope for that. And Drew Brees, man, he's got multiple fractures and a collapsed lung. That sounds pretty bad. So I don't know if we can expect him back anytime soon. Austin Eckler declared on his tweets that he'll be back on by week 13, and the Eagles have brought back Zach Ertz from the injury reserve. So Wentz gets another player back. And here's a little tidbit. The Seahawks are the only team in the NFL to not put a player on the COVID list. And that wraps it up. Wait. Here's the last thing. The NFL sent out a memo today saying that all clubs must go into an intensive protocol for the rest of the season, starting Saturday. All meetings, virtual or in large spaces, mandatory masks, mouth shields in practice. And the goal is to reduce close contact, further mitigate risk of COVID spread. So I'm pretty sure they're doing that so, they don't jeopardize the playoffs. And they have all players available. That wraps up the injury report.
That was a lot, man. Yeah.
I know, man. I try to give you as much information as I could.
It's all good. It's all informative. We pretty much know that Balaj is pretty much good to the playoffs. For those that could really
he's good to go.
Keynote on Balaj, he's averaging 15.8 points last two games, and so that's it's good to know. But I didn't know about Matt Stafford's thumb. That kind of I don't even know who that backup is either.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Brody, for the injury report. We're going to segue real quick and move into the playoff picture real quick. So currently we have Cavengers with the number 1 seed overall with a 7-3 record. We actually have a 3-way tie as far as records go with, 7-3 records. Cavengers holding the number 1 spot only by 14.5 points from Schmucks. That's our primetime matchup this week. We'll get into that real quick. But Steel Tits, 53 points behind the number 1 seed. Also with the 7-3 record. Cream Pies bouncing back, 6-4 record. They got their points for is pretty up there, 1,535 points for. So at this point, I think we can pretty much say that the 4 teams that are locked for the playoffs is Cavengers, Schmucks, Steel Tits, and Cream Pies. Cream Pies because the separation between Cream Pies and Jack's Capital is down near 60 points. So I don't want to lock in Jack's Capital just yet, even though they have the same record of 6-4. Jack's Capital currently the 5th seed. The 6th seed, this is where it gets crazy because the 6th seed is 5-5, which is French Fries. Now, the separation between them and Jack's Capital is 27 points. But French Fries, 1,449, which they are the 6th seed and also the 6th seed overall in points for. The 6th place overall in points for. Right behind that is Chain Gang with 1,420. And the separation between the 10th seed and points for, I get there's those 2 games, but we'll get into that right now. Chain Gang, 1,420 is currently 7th in total points for and only 29 points behind Super Saiyan French Fries. Now, I get it. The only way this becomes even relevant right now is if Chain Gang wins out, and they're playing Line Junk this week, got Jack's Capital and Steel Tits. It's a long shot, but if we're talking points for, there is Chain Gang still in there. Right after that, you got Drew Bino, currently the 8th seed, with the 9th most points for, with 1,352. The difference between Drew Bino and French Fries is 96 points. So Drew Bino's at a 4-6 record, while French Fries is at a 5-5 record. 1 game separates the 2. I mean, these next 3 games are going to be insane. Like it's going to the 4 and not even I would say 5 and 6 seeds are going to flop. I think I feel more comfortable if Jack's Capital takes care of business against Bungo this week. We can pretty much kind of like move forward and locking them in. But as far as that 6th seed, I mean, well, I'd be crazy to think that maybe that 6 seed is going to be 6 and 7. Maybe even 5 and 8. It's going to be a battle for that 6 seed. And we have Chain Gang, Brody, Line Jump, Rubino, Crumb Duster, French Fries. They're all going to battle for this. These next 3 games, I mean, as we touched on it earlier, nobody is eliminated. This battle is on now, man. And if we look at these numbers, the separation between these guys is I mean, if Chain Gang, he was still the number 1 when it comes to points allowed, and it's not even close. Chain Gang has allowed 1,593 points. The second is Drubino at 1,497. It's almost a 100-point separation there. Like, we could be talking Chain Gang a whole different ballgame here. But I'm not just trying to hype up Chain Gang. What I'm trying to say here is, Brody is 9th overall in points 8th overall in points 4, has Crumb Duster, Cream Pies, and Jack's Capital remaining. Like, it's this playoff picture is all over the place right now. And nobody is eliminated. I mean, let's touch on this real quick. What do you guys think? What surprises can we see here?
You know what? If we're going on points, then 4, 6, and 4, 5, and 6 are up for grabs. I mean, there's 3 games left. One team could win all 3 games. One team could lose all 3 games. So, like you said, it's up in the air. I mean, like I said last week, it's just try to put your most competitive team out there and just hope for the best.
I feel like more than likely the number 6 seed is going to be in there with a 6 and 7 record. It feels like, in my opinion, that Crumb Duster has the most favorable schedule going into these last 3 games. I feel like if they run the table, they're in, dude, because they're 5 and 5, right? And they play Team Brody. If that's a must win for both teams, right? Okay, if you go into week 12, right, you're gonna have Crumb Duster versus the Super Saiyan Fries, and then week 13 you're gonna have Crumb Duster versus Mr. Bungle. So those are winnable matchups for Crumb Duster, and if he wins out, he's in there with 7 and 5 records, where they're actually 8 and 5, right? So he's in control of his destiny. I mean, but the only thing is that his team is not looking too good right now. He needs to make some moves to solidify that 6th seed and get in the playoffs. Because if he doesn't, these favorable matchups are not going to go his way. So, in my opinion, Crumb Duster has the most favorable schedule to get into that number 6 seed.
Yeah, Crumb Duster is currently at 5 and 5, 1,279 points 4, which is the 11th best in the league. Does have him and Brody, like you said, Brody, French Fries, and Bungle. He's been doing this without McCaffrey. We saw what he could do when he came back.
Is it time to trade McCaffrey to try to get?
I think no. I had a recent interview with him earlier in the week, and he is not planning on moving McCaffrey. So at this point, he's rolling with the squad, and this Brody matchup is going to be it's a big game for both of them, like you said.
Must win for both. I mean,
must win right now.
Because Crumb Duster, like you said, he hasn't been scoring too many points, right? But that won't matter if the record says otherwise. So
yeah,
he needs to make some moves. If he's not going to move CMC, then he's got to solidify the rest of the squad, because if he wins out, he's in there. But he can't afford to lose one game, because if he loses one game and he's 5 and 6, the other teams are going to overtake him because of the points. The teams are scoring more points than he is.
Yeah, that's. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say I agree. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of talent on paper without CMC, and then now without Drew Brees. So, if he's not going to give up CMC, then he definitely has to bolster up the rest of his lineup, just to accumulate points. He's not getting much from his current squad. He barely cracked over 100 last week. He does have a favorable matchup or a favorable schedule down the stretch, but he has to make a move, man. Like if he's not gonna hold on to, or if he's gonna hold on to the CMC, that's fine. I get it, But at this point, you just want to get in, man, because getting in, even as a 6 seed, you never know what can happen in the playoffs, right? People can get hurt, people can get sick now with COVID and miss a game during the playoffs, right? That would, that would make things a little more balanced once you get in, but you just want to get in. And if he's fine with his team now, they don't look very talented to me. So it's just, we'll see what happens. I think he needs to make a move. But like I said, giving up CMC is hard. I can understand that, but definitely want to fill those other slots if you can.
Yeah, I think he's in the hole with CMC because the Panthers, they just might hold him out. I don't know if they should even rush him back from. He got re-injured.
Right, that's another thing. Yeah.
There's no telling. He could get re-injured again. So that's their franchise player. Why would you want to put him in that position? So it's hard, you can try to offer it to somebody, but then they're also taking a risk, and it's pretty late in the season to try to pull off risky moves like that. So he just got to ride with it. And this week for his receivers, I don't know. There's not too much credibility right there. Myers, I don't know how you guys feel about him. I've never heard of Mims before. And Godwin, he's great. He'll put up numbers as long as Brady can get him the ball.
Yeah. So no, you lose Drew Brees, you lose CMC. Jonathan Taylor's been averaging 10 points per game last 5 games, so he's not being him who we thought he was. I do want to point out Jacoby Myers, who's on his squad, and he's averaging 18.2 points per game last 4 games. So he's a bit of a stud, and he's a piece that he might move and maybe get some. If you don't want to move CMC, he's the underdog in this matchup against Brody. Brody's favorite here by 9 points. It's a must-win for both of them. You want to live and die with your squad. I understand that. Nobody can say otherwise. It's the commissioner said it. It's all good, But when you have a 5-5 record with 3 games remaining, you have a better opportunity than those that have a 4-6 and 3-7, and it could quite possibly be that those that have a 4-6 and 3-7 might jump over you, man. So
Robinson seems like another candidate to you could swap for a running back, or because you're hurting at running back. Like I said, Jonathan Taylor has been underperforming, and it's like I said, he's in a full-blown committee out there. Hines taking carries and touches away from Taylor. Malcolm Brown has been in a committee all season long too, And Zach Moss is Zach Moss. You're hurting at running back without CMC. So if you flip Robinson, if you feel comfortable with the receivers you got now, right? You still got Godwin. You got Jacoby Myers, who seems to be Cam Newton's number 1 target now, So, and Michael Pittman was a good pickup this week.
Yeah,
waiver wire.
Yeah, he was.
So the last couple of weeks, he looks like he's Rivers' favorite target. So, and they're involving him more in the offense. So if you feel comfortable with the receivers, right now might be the time to flip Robinson, get a running back in return, maybe somebody who needs a receiver. So you got to do something. You can't stand pat. If you stand pat, you're not gonna make it to the 6th seed, in my opinion. I don't think that it's feasible to be.
Yeah, you got a favorable schedule. You're there. I think it just takes one move, man. And if you can move Allen Robinson while he's on a bye, and helps you out this week, you'll take that all day. I'll take that all day. While we're here, we'll start. We're gonna I think I pretty much covered the playoff tree. It's a crazy battle there for the 6th seed. While we're here with this matchup, we'll kick off the Week 11 matchup review. And we're starting it off with Crumb Duster versus Team Brody. We've covered everything on Crumb Duster. Moving on to Team Brody here. I don't see any different start and sit options that I would go crazy about. He is favored by 9 points. I mean, I guess you would if you're there. You're still battling for a playoff spot. I mean, Trey Tua. I mean, Tua over Matt. I mean, obviously we're still waiting to see what happens with Stafford's injury, but you got Tua who can cover. Unfortunately, Eckler is going to come back at a time where it might already be too late. But what do you guys see? An upset here in the making, or how do you call this one?
I don't know. I mean, let's could go either way, but I feel like Team Brody has the better players on paper. But you never know, man. Any given Sunday, Crumb Duster can come up with a upset. Mims is a flyer. I mean, I don't even know if that's a flyer. That's a Hail Mary, maybe. I don't know. Well, I don't know why you would start Mims in there. There's plenty more players. I don't know. Maybe he has inside information or something. But there's way more players on the waiver wire that I'd pick up over Jets receiver. A Jets receiver, man. I don't want any part of the Jets offense, to be honest, especially when you're in a must-win situation.
Yeah, I'll say, I mean, Crumb Duster at 5-5, a little bit surprising, with especially with CMC out most of the year, out again this week, and then obviously no Drew Brees also. I don't know if I would call this a must-win for them. It would definitely put them in a better position. Especially with French Fries, Drew Brees, and Line Junk, they're all playing against much superior opponents because, Team Brody, unfortunately, has just been devastated with injuries. But he is still projected to score more points. So that's another thing. I mean, I'm unsure why Crumb Duster isn't trying to upgrade his roster this time. But, I mean, we'll see how it plays out, But at 5-5, he has a chance to get in still, has a favorable schedule, but without upgrading your roster, that 5-5, it's not gonna mean much.
Brody?
Yeah, Crumb Duster. I mean, if he loses this week, it looks pretty dark. Because then one of these other teams can get a win on him and move ahead on his standings. So it's gonna be tough if he can't pull out the win.
Yeah, definitely. 5-5, kind of just like what Steve said. Like, it's not a must win, but you want this win because, it's going to inch you closer. Because if you're going to get into the playoffs and you're Crumb Duster, you're going to get into the playoffs by, I mean, I don't want to say by record or by luck or anything like that. But, like, I mean, you need help from those that are coming up, like, Drew Brees and French Fries. They need to, like, lose out a lot. So it's the game you want to win and a matchup that's favorable to you. So you want this one. This one's
the
big.
reason I say it's a must win, because if he loses this matchup, all these 4 and 6 teams are that if they win, they're gonna overtake his position based off of points. He's one of the lowest scoring teams in the league, right? He's second to last in scoring points. If somebody gets a win and they have the same record, they overtake him right away. He could literally jump from 7th place all the way to last or second to last.
Yeah, so, definitely. Like, you got French Fries playing against cream pies, and you got Drew Brees playing against steel tits. Like, you want to be where Crumb Duster is right now, playing against Team Brody. So this is where you come up. This is where you come up, because if you lose this one and they somehow magically come across one of those heavy hitters, like, it's going to put you in a tough position, man.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. I mean, all the people behind them are playing against, much more difficult. They have much more difficult matchups. So I can see a scenario where they all lose, and then even if he loses, he's still ahead of them because of wins. That's why I don't think it's a must win. It's a win he definitely would like to have, because really the only way I think he'll get in is through record. I think he's too far behind in points, and he just doesn't put up enough points weekly to to win that battle. So it'll have to be through record. And he's got the easiest record out of all those teams I mentioned down the stretch. So that's why I don't think it's a must win, because I can see a scenario where everybody behind him loses, even if he loses this week.
Yeah, I mean, he loses.
If it's through record, then it's a must win. You can't lose. If it's going to be just based off a record, you have to win. Because it's not, like you said, if it comes down to points, you can't let it come down to points. You're going to be out. You have to keep on winning. If it's record, you got to keep winning these games, dude. If you lose this game, you're going to fall behind, and you're just going to go down and slip down the standings, man. To me, in my opinion, that's just my opinion. It's a must win. It has to win.
Real quick, the point differential between Crumb Duster, who's currently the 7th seed, and French Fries, who's currently the 6th seed, is 169 points. So, yeah, I think this has to be by record, because 169 points, gentlemen, like that is – with 3 games remaining, that's not going to happen. You're not going to overcome that. I mean, you got to hope that you outscore all 3 of these other teams by goddamn near 80 points every game, every week. Like, it's 169 point differential there. And then you have Jobino and, like I said, Lanjuk and Brody, who are still in the mix. I get it. But, yeah, you want to win this one. I think you want to win this one. The more I look into it, yeah, you want this one, because that puts you – and you want to win this one and the other 2 lose – man, that puts you in a comfortable position. You're gonna, you know what I mean?
I want to know what's up with the West, man. They're not scoring any points. 1,200, 1,300. like the East.
Definitely the weaker
East
conference.
are putting up points right here. Like, I don't know. We might need a realignment of division next year. I don't know.
Man, we're going to move away from that matchup, and we'll keep this flow going. Super Saiyan French Fries, another big matchup, Super Saiyan French Fries versus Cream Pies. French Fries 5-5, Cream Pies 6-6. French Fries favored to win this one by 15 points. I don't think he's updated his roster quite yet, or maybe he has, I don't know. But I'm definitely, I guess –
no, the roster's updated, man.
he is updated,
yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, as you were. DeAndre Hopkins, Duke Johnson. Duke Johnson isn't. I don't know why. I forget he doesn't have Miles Sanders anymore. Wow. I mean, you want this win now without Miles Sanders. This game is big for French Fries. Like, you want this win. You just traded away Miles Sanders. The gamble the bet's already been placed. You threw that out there. Like, you need to win this one without Miles Sanders, and man, like this is a tough opponent. Cream Pies, who Jamison Crowder. Let me tell you a little bit about Jamison Crowder, man. He's averaging, and he's only played 5 games this season, which is crazy. Yeah. Speaking to a guy that's averaging in those 5 games 19.4 points. Bet y'all didn't know that. But in 5 games, he's averaging 19.4 points per game. So he'll be a part of the name game later. But, I mean, this is going to be a tough matchup. I know he's favored by 15, but this could go either way. What do you guys got on it?
Must win for both. I mean, French Fry needs to keep up. He needs this win to stay in the race. And Cream Pie, he can't afford to lose anything because another team might just creep up on him out of nowhere. But I like his team. I like his team going against French Fries. He's got a good shot of taking this one this week. So I mean, if Brady can show up, then you know the sky is the ceiling.
I don't expect Russell Wilson to be putting up 8-9 point games. I expect Russell Wilson to put up over 30 this week against the Cardinals defense that's been giving up a lot of points to quarterbacks. There's going to be a shootout, I think, tomorrow, and I think Russell Wilson's going to get back on track. The only question mark is Tyler Lockett. If he sits out and he doesn't play, that's going to hurt Super Saiyan's chances right there. Because Tyler Lockett, I know he's a hit or miss weekly, But more, against Arizona, that's a good matchup. You want to have him out there to put up points for you, because if he has to sit out, then you're gonna have to shuffle your whole lineup, throw in a flex, or depend on somebody on your bench that you don't feel like too comfortable. I don't know, maybe Sammy Watkins if Tyler Lockett doesn't go. And for Cream Pies, he's got his best player, one of his best players, Diggs on bye, so that kind of hurts him this week. But I mean, that's probably the best lineup you can put out there. I don't see any major changes that I would do to his lineup. He's just gonna have to roll it out and hope that his players perform this week.
Yeah, I was gonna say with Cream Pies, not having Stephon Diggs this week, it makes it a more favorable matchup for French Fries. I think Tyler Lockett is playing tomorrow based off the report that Brody gave earlier, so he's good there. But you definitely want to win this game. If you're French Fries, I wouldn't call it a must-win because he is kind of in the driver's seat. But winning this game will definitely, solidify that sixth seed for him a little bit more, make it a little more comfortable for him. But I don't think it's a must-win for either team actually. And Cream Pies is pretty comfortable up there in that fourth spot I believe he's in. And then he's got a pretty stacked roster, so I don't think I think most matchups he'll probably be the favorite. Just unfortunate that Stephon Diggs is not playing this week for him. But yeah, I mean overall, pretty even matchup. Not a must-win for either team, I don't think. But if you're French Fries, you definitely want to win this game just to give yourself a little more, breathing space from the opponents or from the guys that are behind you.
Yeah, definitely. If it's a must win, it's going to be on the French fry side. I don't consider it a must win for Cream Pies at all. He does have the fourth seed, but he is third overall in points for. So even if he loses out in 6 and 7, those points are going to bail you out. Like after this week, I'm pretty damn sure he's going to be a lock in for the playoffs. Just like after this week, I'm pretty sure we'll be able to clinch Cavenger, Smucks, Steel Tits, almost right there in order to I'm right there. He's borderline clinch material for me come next week for Cream Pies. Jack's Capital and French Fries are still up in the air. We'll see how those points turn out this week. So moving on, Steel Tits versus Drubino. Man, your big trade for Drubino. We'll hope that Gibson trade helps him out. He gets Patrick Mahomes back. But on paper and on matchup here and on win probability, this is 150 to 149. These guys are separated by 0.8 points according to the projections right now. So, I mean, if there was ever a game like that Drubino can go off, you want this one. His schedule going forward is Steel Tits, Line Junk, and Cavengers. So when you look at those final three, you feel comfortable going to Line Junk, and you want to steal one of the Cavengers and Steel Tits, and you hope that you can steal this one here. As far as Steel Tits, you're just playing at this point. Like, hey, I think we can pretty much clinch her into the playoffs, unless you guys got some crazy other shit to say. But I think Smucks and Cavengers and Steel Tits are pretty much locked in for a playoff berth. But yeah, let me hear your guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah, Steel Tits coming off a 175-point performance, without Tyreek Hill and Chris Carson. I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Brody mentioned that Chris Carson isn't going to come back this week, but at least you'll get, Tyreek Hill back. And, I mean, with the current lineup, like you mentioned, there's only a 1-point differential as far as projections. Definitely need to win this game. If you're Drubino, a loss definitely kind of eliminates you, or that the playoffs become at that point a daunting task. Must win for Drubino. Not only a must win, but a must win. He's gonna need some help from guys like Cream Pies, and whoever's ahead of him in the standings. He's gonna need them to lose this week, as well as get that dub. So.
Yeah, it's a good week for Steel Tits. Hill's going against that COVID defense. Mahomes probably gonna light him up bad. She's got Chubbs back. Chubb he played great last week. You know, if he would have scored that touchdown, would have been better. Hines is producing. He's shining right now. And McKissick, I would flip flop between him and Parker. That's a flex play that I would have a hard time going back and forth with, because Parker's playing the Broncos, you know, and Tua's great. He's showed he can play in the NFL, and it looks good for her. And Childish, I mean, Chase Edmonds, I don't know the situation with Drake, so that's a little sketchy. But if he's gonna pull this out, it's gonna be those receivers. Those receivers are gonna have to come up big for him. Jones, Allen, and Jefferson, they're gonna have to do something big, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna be able to rely on Mahomes.
Yeah, Smoke and Joe, you got anything on this one? You want to move on?
Pretty much everything's need to be said. I mean, like I said, it's if Childish Sabrino's going to get the win, it's going to be because of those receivers, because I feel like Mahomes and Murray pretty much cancel each other out. They're both going to put up numbers. And, I mean, the running back, I give the slight edge to Steelkids just because Nick Chubb is back. So it's going to, you know, the X factor in this whole matchup might be a Ahmed, dude. Is Ahmed going to put up numbers this week? Did he earn that job? Is he going to get those touches? Is he going to put Childish Sabrino over the hump? Is he going to be the pickup of the week? We'll see.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good battle. It's a good quarterback battle. Kyler Murray versus Patrick Mahomes. You got to like that. It's those receivers. She's got the running backs. We'll see if Ahmed is that guy. J.D. McKissick, like I said earlier, averaging 14.6 points per game last 4 weeks. So he's a nice little flex there. And we're waiting on Stafford. We'll see how that affects Marvin Jones. But yeah, definitely Jubino looking at his final three: Steel Tits, Line Junk, and Cavengers. You like the Line Junk matchup. You need to steal one in Steel Tits and Cavengers, and I think he should steal one here at Steel Tits. So we'll move forward. Smucks versus Cavengers, the primetime matchup of Week 11. And I'll tell you, these two men have been fun to watch all year. 14.5 points separates these two. I think they are both healthy. Cavengers, big move on Miles Sanders. Man, the projections show Cavengers favored here by, 9 points. That means nothing to me, honestly. Cam Newton versus Matt Ryan, Dalvin Cook versus Alvin Kamara. Dalvin Cook against Dallas, Alvin Kamara against Atlanta. They're both going to eat. James Conner versus Ronald Jones. You hope for another night for Ronald Jones, but DK Metcalf. You hope Calvin Ridley returns. Brandon Cooks has been a nice addition, and a nice little flex RB3. Wide receiver 3 here. Chase Claypool, KJ Hamler. I mean, you lose Amari Cooper, but you gain Miles Sanders to your flex. You have no Brandon Ayuk, who I freaking love Ayuk, man. Like, y'all know that Ayuk is averaging 15.9 points the last 5 games. Then that was because he was out, and that's including that one game he was out because of COVID. But Travis Kelce over Gronkowski, you like that. And, man, this is I don't want to go on. I mean, I can go on this matchup, but this is the matchup that's going to literally determine the number 1 overall seed in the league. So kick it off, Steve. What you got on this one, man? I know you got a lot to say about this one, man. You've been waiting for this one all year.
Well, it's an even matchup, on paper. Not a lot of flaws on either side. Should be a high-scoring game. It was hard to find some flaws or some concerns. I guess the only ones I could find were pretty, they're not that big of an issue. But Kamara and Devontae both going up against top 10 defenses, but you're not gonna replace them, right? You're always gonna start them regardless. And then on the Avenger side, obviously the trade for Miles Sanders gives them three solid running backs to start. His only unknown is KJ Hamler on his starting lineup, and that's only because Ayuk is on bye. But overall, I mean, even matchup should be a high-scoring game. These two teams may be the two highest-scoring teams this week, and unfortunately, one of them is going to lose. So, that's all I really got on this matchup. I mean, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I like Avenger this week. He's got it. Comparing running backs, I'm gonna give him the edge on that one. Kamara's a beast. He's been putting up numbers all season, but Avengers also has Cook, and he's been putting up numbers recently. And Connor, he's a wild card. He hasn't really been showing up this year, but he's capable of giving you a great game. And he's got Sanders. He got the newly acquired Sanders, so that's also another wild card he's got in his back pocket. And Kelsey, you can always depend on Kelsey. He'll never let you down. Like Steve said, Hamler. That's a flyer, I think. He's also got Sanders. Maybe you could trust Winston and Sanders connection, but other than that, Cavenger's roster looks good to me. You got that Rams defense. They've been playing pretty solid the last couple of weeks, but they're also playing the Bucks, so it might be a low-scoring game. Who knows? That's how things have been shaping up recently.
Smoke and Joe, you got anything on that or no? I mean, I know you're waiting for this one too, man. I know you're waiting for this one.
Not much that already hasn't been said. I mean, like I said, it's pretty even matchup. The only position I see that's kind of hurting for Avengers is Hamler. And another thing is that if Ridley doesn't suit up, you're kind of in a hole right there. You're gonna have to do some shuffling with that lineup and start Sanders or something. So that might hurt you for this week if Ridley doesn't go. It might be a little bit more even this week. So if Ridley can't suit up, so we'll see. I mean, it's the primetime matchup. It's like you said, it's for the number one overall seed. Should be a good one.
Yeah, Alvin Kamara and Dalvin Cook. I mean, shit, that's pretty even. Maybe that's just even. I'm not even gonna argue that. That's even. James Conner, man, real quick. Can you guys tell me what the average of James Conner has been in the last 6 games? Real quick. Just toss it out there.
13 points.
13 points. What do you got, Steve?
-50.
What do you got, Brody?
You said last 6, right?
Yeah, last 6.
I give him a 12.5.
Whoa, motherfucker, dude. I'm sorry, I shouldn't curse. He's been averaging 12.4 in the last 6. Now let's go with Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones, man. What do you guys think
Rojo.
Well, he had a huge game last week.
15.
So
oh, man.
I would say probably around 17.
No, because we're no. He had one big game. Yeah, look at the rest. It's 12.7.
Oh man.
All right, so it's fucking even, dude. It is an even matchup there. It's even on both sides. Is what I'm trying to get at. Like even though you're talking James Conner and Ron but now the newly acquired Miles Sanders comes in and he's trumping over Kenyon Drake, who Kenyon Drake's averaging 12.6 since his return. So we like Sanders there. Yeah, man, it's gonna be a fun matchup to watch, and we may or may not have a new number one overall. The projections state that we will keep the same president, but hey, fucking, there'll be a recount. Fucking, I don't know. Team Chain Gang versus Line Junk coming up. Line Junk projected to. Oh, something's got to be okay. We can't really determine this one because Team Chain Gang hasn't been updated yet.
I mean, you could update it. Roethlisberger will be in there. Yeah, Roethlisberger.
Yeah, you got to start Big Ben. He's been lighting it up. Something happened to him this year. He's woke up. He woke up.
Yeah. Then you're gonna toss in that Seattle defense in there.
Hey, Roethlisberger's playing like. Roethlisberger playing against Jacksonville. Against Jacksonville.
That's a 36 points that you add up right there to 94, You're almost right there at 130 almost, So
Yep.
I would not trust the Seahawks defense at all. Like they're bad this year. There's a reason why Russell has to put up these numbers. They have to put up those numbers because the defense is giving up so much points. So and then against Arizona, no, it's a division game. I wouldn't trust them.
Well, let's say you go to the waivers and pick up a defense. The point I'm trying to make is that you could swap out that Buffalo defense around bye, and so is Josh Allen. So you have to swap those two positions. You put in Big Ben, and you sub in a waiver wire defense. Let's just 10 points. You're gonna get 10 points out of your defense. That's solid, right? So it's gonna be a little bit more evenly matched up than it shows on right now as a matchup. So.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy win, for Line Junk. We've all seen Team Changgang, win a week, right? Like he scored the most points for a week. So his team is definitely explosive. It's just unfortunate for him, right? Like, he needs this win, but Josh Allen's out. Ben Roethlisberger may, make up the difference, but Josh Allen's been really good this year. It's going to be hard to replace. Not only Josh Allen out, no Debo again, no Montgomery. With those guys, I would probably favor Team Changgang, but without them, this is a pretty even matchup and must win for both teams.
One quick note: I don't love the Rodgers matchup. I don't love the matchup against the Colts. The Colts defense has been pretty good this year, and
yeah, that's true.
you got Watson on your bench, and New England hasn't looked that great. They've been giving up points, and that's kind of a tough decision there. Do you go Watson or do you go Rodgers? I mean, this week I'd probably lean towards Watson, to be honest.
That's a legitimate question, yeah.
And I'm glad you brought that up because if you look towards the left here, you got Aaron Jones and MVS. So, if Aaron Jones and MVS are going to be catching passes, they're going to be catching passes from your quarterback. So, you're going to have to debate that. Like, do you want to counter that? Do you want to counter that punch, or do you want to gain points?
What if they don't do good? What if they don't do well?
Yeah, you're right.
What if they run the ball? What if what if Aaron Jones gets all the points?
Yeah, it's a debate. Watson, Rodgers. I got to look at the rankings. I don't know who's.
I've always had the mentality that I want my score to be the highest score I could put out. I'm not gonna be focused on the opponent's score. You got to put out your best team, and you got to put out the most points. Once you start getting into focusing on players on the opponent's team, that you're gonna start swapping and making moves to counter their players, like just because you have, I'm gonna have this quarterback since he has this receiver, so that way it's more even. Like, no, that to me that's not a good strategy to have. But that's my thought on that.
Line Jim could consider this. Matt Stafford played Indiana in Week 8, and he put up 29. And Rodgers, he's better than Stafford. So I wouldn't be hesitant on starting him this week.
Yeah, and I get it.
So you'd go Rodgers over?
I would go Rodgers because Rodgers he's been lighting it up for the past 3 weeks. He's been turning it on. And he got what has he got? Lazard back and in MVS.
Okay.
And I like it. I like that.
Yeah. I would. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, with
it's
Lazard
hard to
coming
bench
back.
Rodgers. Yeah.
Lazard coming back. Yeah. Well, we go up ESPN rankings. Deshaun Watson's ranked 7th. Aaron Rodgers is ranked 10th for this week. He's clearly going against that.
Aaron Rodgers got a lot more weapons though than Deshaun Watson.
It's. Honestly, we're this could go either way. I don't think you can go wrong either way here. Obviously, come Monday, it'll be a different story. But right now, you're gonna lose sleep over it. You just start Rodgers, who's been your guy, and you hope for the best, man. You get Alan Lazard back. And I don't know, maybe it helps you. It's a must-win game for both of them. You know what I mean? So you get put in that situation where like you can't fuck up. You know, like you got to make that right call. And unfortunately, in this situation, like shit, your decision is between Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson. So
I'm
I mean, what
gonna
do you
give
do?
I'm gonna give this week to Lane Junk because the guys he's on, the players on his roster, I would rely on them more.
You
Gurley's been reliable. Juju and Johnson, I mean, they're on the same team, but Big Ben's been getting them the ball.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too. He's gonna y'all notice the counter here. You're gonna have Rodgers throwing it against Aaron Jones and MVS, and you're gonna have Ben throwing the ball to Smith-Schuster and Deontay Johnson. Like
You better hope Ben only throws to Claypool next week.
like that's gonna be a battle going back and forth. And honestly, a 6 points touchdown is a 6-point touchdown for both of them. Yeah, you get more for the receiver, right? Because points per reception. But it's gonna be a close battle, man.
You know
It's
what?
gonna
The wild card for Line Junk will be Balazs because they play the Jets, and man, I don't expect him to do bad. He's gonna play well. He played well last game. He's gonna play well this week.
Yeah, definitely. I can agree with that. I mean, you start everybody against the Jets, man. Well, it's going to be a good game, and it's like every game this week is going to be important, man. There is a must-win scenario down near every freaking game. We're going to move away from this one. Jack's Capital versus Bungle. Jack's Capital favored here by, 30 points, maybe 28 points. I don't know. I was told there'd be no math, but we'll say call it 25 points, even, whatever. Justin Herbert versus Joe Burrow, Josh Jacobs, Jamal Williams, you got to like the way DeAndre Swift. You didn't touch on James Robinson. There's an injury there somewhere. I see a Q on here, questionable. Brody, what's that going on?
Nah, there was nothing officially on the report.
There was nothing on the injury report for James Robinson?
He was limited today, but it's Wednesday. Usually the top players don't even practice on Wednesday. If they don't practice on Thursday and they don't practice on Friday, then you should be really worried. But Wednesday's like a maintenance day. You know, they're just they're doing rehab and stuff like that.
Okay, so that sounds good for James. So what about for Noah Fant, man? Because I think there was a report coming out early that he wasn't practicing at all and was expected to maybe not even play. And then we got to run into a bigger problem because there's no other tight end. Both of the Jack's Capitals tight ends are on a bye. So does he pick up Taysom Hill?
He had a rib injury. He had a rib injury and took him out of practice this week. But I mean, like I said, it's Wednesday, so it's just precautionary. If he doesn't practice tomorrow or Friday, then you should be concerned.
All right. Looks like regardless of that Font situation, Jack's Capital's schedule going forward: Bungo, Changang, and Brody. Like, if there's a favorable schedule where he might win out here and get you to 9-4, I think he's got it. Though it's not, we're not writing this shit in stone, but he's got that matchup, and the other guy's got tougher matchups to the top seed. So we'll see. But I think Jack's Capital kind of walks away from this one fairly easy. I think this is the easiest one to review here. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Jack's Capital heavy favorite. They just got Herbert. Bungo just doesn't have a lot of talent. Even if Robinson and Fant are missing this week, it'll help him out a little bit. But I still think Jack's Capital will win this matchup. But with those guys in the lineup, assuming they're healthy, I see this probably being a blowout unless Bungo comes up with some crazy deal between now and Sunday.
Brody,
I agree. I mean, Jack's Capital, he's got the numbers. Bungo, he's Williams. I mean, he's got Swift. Swift is the number one starter now, but that's not really gonna make up for the other holes in the roster. Chicago defense on bye. He's gonna have to plug in Green Bay, and You know what? Evans, he might help him out, but there's just too much firepower on Jack's Capital to overcome what they're gonna bring this week.
Yeah, I mean, this seems like Jack's Capital should come out with a win. I mean, I understand Bungle might get some reinforcements from Zeke. I don't know if Galladay's going to play this week. It sounds like he might play this week. So you plug him in there in your flex. You take out Jamal Williams and you put in Zeke. I mean, it might make it a little bit more competitive, but I just feel like this week Jack's Capital's got it.
All right, yeah, I think we all agree on the same. All right, so that pretty much covers all of week 11, and it's gonna be a fun week, man. Like I said, right now, no team is eliminated, but that's not gonna be the case come next Tuesday, where I think we're gonna have 2 or 3 teams eliminated. We're gonna move away from this and step into a quick name game before we hit our final thoughts. And I got a nice list for you guys today, Will. And I got some nice stats that y'all probably never even looked into. But we'll start first with probably the least important one out of the list. And that's Michael Thomas, who, since his return, is averaging 7.4 points per game. Now, remember, the name game is Michael Thomas, but it's who would you rather have? And no more Drew Brees, Jameis Winston. Right now, if you could trade or wanted something, who would you rather have? Remember, Michael Thomas returns back for two games, 7.4 per game. Do you want Amari Cooper or Michael Thomas?
Michael Thomas. I would even take Mike Thomas.
I would probably go Michael Thomas too, yeah.
Michael Thomas. What do you got, Smoking Joe? Michael Thomas or Amari Cooper?
Michael Thomas, that's pretty easy.
You see, this is where we get – I'm glad you guys all were unanimous with this, because Michael Thomas, 2 weeks back, 7 points, 7.4 points per game. And I want to touch a little bit on draft capital. You know what I mean? Like, how much stock do we put into draft capital? And what I mean by that is, like, we drafted these players. Michael Thomas was a first-round overall. He was a first-round pick, right?
Yeah.
And we're all valuing a player that has averaging since his return 7 points per game. You want to have him over Amari Cooper. Like, I'm honestly a little bit shocked. I'm going to keep going forward real quick. Is Mike Evans. Mike Evans or Michael Thomas?
That's more even right there. I would probably lean towards Michael Thomas, but barely.
Barely. Brandon Cooks or Michael Thomas?
Dude,
I'm just gonna go Thomas.
Yeah, just too much potential.
I'll just do this: Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, Brandon Cooks, T. Higgins, or Will Fuller.
I'm gonna go Michael Thomas out of all of them. Yeah.
You said Michael Thomas though? Yeah. If Michael Thomas is in that list, I'll still go Michael Thomas.
Yeah,
like something more, like something more, believable would be Brandon Cooks or Amari Cooper.
Nah, but I don't see. That's where I believe that draft like you're picking the name in 2 weeks with Drew Brees. Now you're just like taking that flyer on Jameis Winston when you've seen Michael Thomas 2 games back. Like, who's gonna get you 40? You're gonna be like, who's gonna get you that guy that's gonna be that guy at 40 points? CMC came back from injury, got you 30 points. Like, it's insane. Honestly,
with Michael Thomas's talent, he can overcome a shitty quarterback. And Winston is not a bad quarterback. He'll get him the ball.
Yeah.
But it's
he got Mike Evans the ball. Like, he'll sling it. He'll sling it. Like, I feel like Michael Thomas is gonna benefit from this injury, dude. Like, getting Jameis Winston out there, he's gonna throw that deep ball. He's gonna hang in the pocket and throw that deep ball. Like, He's not gonna dump it 5-yard outs, or running back out the backfield, because that's all Drew Brees is at this point of his career. That's his go-to pass, man.
Like,
You saw it
I just
last
think you
year.
guys. I think y'all are valuing the
I'm not
name
bad.
over.
No,
Like it just no.
I'm
I
not.
mean, I get it. He can. As an owner of Michael Thomas, I get it. I get it, but it makes no sense to me. Like T. Higgins is averaging 19.3 points in the last 4 weeks.
He's been good,
19.3.
I
But
think
you're just picking a guy that's Michael Thomas because his name is Michael Thomas, was averaging 7.4 and after 2 games. And you can't call that a small sample size. He had Drew Brees throwing him the ball. It's not unanimous to me, is all.
I think it depends also on the situation your team is in, right? Like if you're comfortable with where you are, you probably choose Michael Thomas just for that upside. You know what I mean? But if you're fighting for a playoff spot, you definitely would want somebody who's been more reliable to plug in and get you those points. But just as an overall talent, I mean, it's hard to choose against Michael Thomas, man. I think against if you put him next to any receiver other than maybe DK or Devontae Adams, it's hard not to pick Michael Thomas.
Like Kevin said, it depends on how your team is doing and what position you're in to wait for points or for that potential or not. Let's revisit this same scenario next week. After Michael Thomas scores 30 points this weekend, and we see, I don't know, T. Higgins score 15 or so, T. Higgins is going to get you that solid stat line, but you're not going to win. He's not going to win you a game. Michael Thomas has the potential to win you a matchup.
Yeah. Well, like I said, the Saints play the Falcons this week. If there's any week that they're going to shine, it's going to be this week. If they don't, then there's a problem. Michael Thomas is more injured than we know. And Winston, I don't know what's wrong with him, but this is the week that they have to put up numbers because the Falcons defense is not good at all.
All right, so
we should definitely revisit this again next week. Yeah,
we'll touch this again next week. Michael Thomas scores 10 points next week. Are you gonna take T. Higgins over Michael Thomas? I guarantee you will still say
probably,
no.
but yeah, I guess the Falcons, yeah.
And why? Because of the fucking name, man. And that's what I want to touch on is what I call draft capital, and that means just name capital, because now we're gonna touch on Jacoby Myers as the next name game. Jacoby Myers, Amari Cooper or Jacoby Myers? Go.
Jacoby Myers.
I go Jacoby Myers. This one. Yeah.
Brody.
I don't know. Cooper.
Chase Claypool or Jacoby Myers?
Claypool.
You all say Claypool. Juju Smith-Schuster or Jacoby Myers?
Schuster. He's been connecting with Roethlisberger, so I like that.
I'm gonna go with Juju.
Yeah, I think Juju's a safer pick. Yeah.
All right. Here's a better one: Tyler Lockett or Jacoby Myers?
Healthy Lockett, of course.
Healthy. He's healthy right now. What'd you say? He's healthy. Go ahead.
Yeah, Lockett.
I go Lockett. Yeah, because we know what he can do, right? Like he's had those crazy performances, right? He's not on the level, obviously, of like a Michael Thomas or a Devontae or anything like that, but he's somebody that has already shown that he can get over 50 points. So I mean,
exactly. Like that was gonna be my next point. Is you're comparing Jacoby Myers to all these receivers that have had monster games where they've gotten you over 40 points, right? Jacoby Myers is solid. He's gotten you over 10 receptions, but he's not a touchdown machine. That offense is not a passing offense, Like they've kind of been running the ball a lot more, taking care of the ball. Cam Newton hasn't been slinging it like crazy, He's just been safe. He turned the ball over so much at the beginning of the season that now they're kind of just trying to take care of the ball, safe little dump passes, run plays and stuff. So I see more potential in those other two receivers, Claypool and to Lockett, than I do in Jacoby Myers. Although Jacoby Myers is still solid.
Yeah, that's a very good pickup by I forgot who grabbed him, but yeah.
Yeah, it was Crumb Duster.
Yeah.
Jacoby Myers is averaging 18.2 points in the last 4 games. Chase Claypool is averaging 12.6. Juju Smith-Schuster averaging 18.8. So Juju Smith-Schuster and Jacoby Myers are pretty goddamn even. And I'm going to segue real quick to Tyler Lockett. But it is, to me, honestly, this is, again, where I'm trying to get at draft capital and just name that we just picked all these guys over a fucking guy, Jacoby Myers, who's averaging 18.2. And I used 4 games because, and I did these stats over 4 games and more because 4 games is not a small sample size. That's a fucking month. So 18.2 in 4 games. I'm sorry. Like, I'm taking Jacoby Myers over Claypool. I am. Amari Cooper's 13.1. Like, I'm taking him over fucking Cooper. The only one I'm not taking him over is freaking Juju, which is averaging 18.8. Lockett, who we're going to segue to right now, this is going to be fun because I'm not even going to tell you his stats real quick because you guys are you're going to go all crazy on me. So before it's Tyler Lockett, Will Fuller, go.
Will Fuller.
Tyler Boyd.
Tyler Lockett.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was
Go
going to say
for it.
Lockett also, yeah.
Tyler
Lockett.
Lockett.
Yeah.
Tyler Lockett. Boyd, who do you take?
Boyd or who?
Or Lockett?
Lockett.
Boyd.
I'm not crazy on Lockett at all, dude. Because
I'll probably go
Good,
Boyd.
like-
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Crowder. Jamison Crowder.
Lockett.
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 I'm going with the QB. Like, you can never discount Wilson. He's top
I'm not
2.
I'm not-
top 2.
I'm not
probably.
discounting Wilson. I'm just saying, like, Lockett is the most inconsistent receiver in fantasy football. He'll give you that 50-pointer, but if you look at the rest of his games, he's giving you a lot more games where he scored less than 10 points than he has.
I'm gonna get to that, Mike. Go ahead, Justin Jefferson.
Over Lockett?
Yeah.
I feel like they're the same player, man, but I'll probably lean towards more Jefferson. I feel like he's been more consistent. I haven't looked at the numbers, but I'll probably go Jefferson in that matchup.
All right. Everybody else goes over Jefferson?
I'm going with Lockett because this schedule
Again,
that
it's
he's got
Wilson.
coming up, it's catered to him. Like, they got Cardinals, they got the Eagles, they got the Giants, they got the Jets, they got Washington. Like, that's cake. That's cake for whoever has them in the playoffs.
That's cake for DK Metcalf.
DK Metcalf. Cooper Cup. What do you got? Lockett or Cup?
Cup.
Cooper Cup.
Oh, Cup. Yeah, Cup.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Look it. Tyler Lockett. If we'll go back 6 games, okay? 6 games. We'll go back 6 games. We remove that one game he scored 56 points in. We'll look
That's
at
half
5.
a season, dude.
That's 5 games, okay? In those 5 games, Tyler Lockett is averaging 8.4 points. Okay? If you remove away the 56-point game, he's in the last 5 games, he's averaging 8.4. And you just picked Lockett over Will Fuller, Boyd, Crowder, JJ, Justin Jefferson, and Cooper Cup. Crowder's averaging 19.4 point games. Like,
I don't take Crowder. I don't count Crowder because Crowder's missed a shitload of games.
yeah, but in the 5 games that he has played, he's averaging 19.4.
But he misses, like, he'll play 2, miss 1, play another 2, miss 2. Like,
Yeah, that kind of offsets, the bad games by Lockett. I think Crowder's probably a bad example just in this against Lockett in this situation.
Yeah.
But
All I'm saying is, again, we are favoring the freaking name over what he's actually been producing, like 8.4 in the last 5 games. If we remove in the last 6 games, if we remove that 156-point game, that 156-point game, dude, is like
and
you said.
Who did he score that on? The Cardinals. And who do they play next tomorrow? The Cardinals.
The Cardinals.
So we'll see what happens
Look, man,
tomorrow.
all I'm just trying to get at here is that, like, we may be valuing sometimes name over performance, and I get it, dude. Like,
That's natural. Like,
that's
when you're approached with a trade, right? Like, say someone like Julio, you're approached with a trade for Julio. The name throws you off. You get something happens in your brain. You're like, damn, that's Julio. Like, that's
but Julio's had consistent games where he's putting multiple games of over.
Yeah, that may be a bad
17.
example, but I get it.
Yeah, because that's a name, right? But Lockett, if you look at his games, like he said, if that 50-point game is removed, dude, he's like at the bottom of the receiver bracket, dude. Like, I don't know. It's just to
Well,
me.
I
I'm
mean,
just like,
but also if you look at the first 3 games he played, and I know we're going way back now, but 17, 19.7, 39. I mean, there's no, there's a chance he can get hot again, right? He's got Arizona, who he put up that 56-point game against, follows that up with Philly, the Giants, and the Jets. I mean, there's no, it's not out of the question that he'll get hot again and just put up great numbers again down the stretch. So, I mean, there's a gamble there, obviously, but a lot of the receivers you mentioned initially, I still would probably go Lockett over them. It's just the bigger names and the more consistent players are the ones that I would put over Lockett. But it's always going to be a gamble with this guy. Like Smokey Joe said, this guy's been really inconsistent, but he also has the potential to get really hot, like he was first 3 games of the year.
Yeah, I mean, we could all he could very well much this week against the Cardinals, put up another 50-point game, and we're like, oh fuck, dude, Bo Shefty's a fucking moron, dude. But I'm thinking Fuller, Boyd, Crowder, and Jefferson and Kupp over Lockett. It's just that's my opinion.
I'm thinking all those except
Crowder, except for Crowder.
I'd rather take Lockett over Crowder.
Yeah. The name game is Brandon Ayuk, man. Juju Smith-Schuster or Ayuk?
Juju.
I think Juju, just because he's got a better quarterback throwing to him.
Yeah. Robert Woods or Ayuk?
I don't know the numbers, man. I'll probably go Ayuk because I know his numbers.
I'm leaning slightly towards Ayuk because I don't know. I would think that Robert Woods would produce more in this offense this year, but he hasn't gotten the receptions that I thought he'd get this year. So I'm leaning towards Ayuk. Ayuk's he's probably the main player in that offense now with all these injuries going forward. So the Rams like to spread the ball out, and Ayuk seems like he's probably the number 1 target out there in San Fran.
I got Woods.
You got Woods?
Yeah.
All right, Chris Godwin or Ayuk?
Godwin.
You gotta go Godwin.
Yeah.
Just for the
I'd
big
go
play
Ayuk.
potential.
All right. T. Higgins or Ayuk?
Higgins, man. Higgins is he's been pretty good all year. Ayuk has just kind of came on the last month or so, but I know Higgins has been good all year.
All right.
Yeah, I'll go Higgins.
Well, half of you are wrong, half of you are right. Ayuk smashes Robert Woods. Juju Smith-Schuster, well, actually, before I even get to that, Brandon Ayuk, 15.9 points per game in the last 5 games. Keep in mind he missed 1 game for COVID, otherwise it would be 6 games. But 15.9 in the last 5 games. The only one that trumps him is Juju Smith-Schuster was averaging 18.8 in the last 4, and T. Higgins was averaging 19.3 in the last 4. Other than that, he smashes Robert Woods. Chris Godwin is averaging 13.9 in the last 4. So,
wow.
Yeah, you definitely take Ayuk over Godwin. Again, that's that name thing.
You know what I think with Higgins? I know he went undrafted, so he probably was picked up in the waiver wire. And if you get him on a waiver wire and put him in the flex, he's a great flex for you. Like
I think he's better than a flex, honestly. Higgins, he's like a wide receiver too.
He's a wide receiver. Shit, you could argue wide receiver 1, man, averaging 19.3 points in the last 4 games. That's wide receiver 1 numbers, man.
Yeah.
But
Guerra's been really good at getting him the ball, and he's always high on targets too. So I mean, he's just been really productive since I think week 3 or week 4.
I think
Joe Burrow definitely goes this way.
Connection.
Yeah.
Here's another one. Keelan Milage. This. Yeah, exactly. Who was that guy that picked him up for like what team was that picked him up for like a minute and dropped him right away? Was it?
ESPN had him as a free agent. He just wasn't even on the team.
He thought he made a mistake, I guess, man. Keelan Milage, man, averaging 15.8 points per game for a running back in the last 2 games since he's taken all those snaps.
Small sample size.
It is, but I mean, he's gonna be that guy until Eckler returns. There's no Jackson, and Kelly's been. I mean, we'll let Smoking Joe because he's the Chargers fucking
He's the resident Chargers.
VIP. VIP here speak on
He's
it.
our
But
Charger source.
I mean,
He's-
I touched on it. I touched on it a little bit last week. I told you guys that Balaj is going to be the guy going forward. I mean, just by watching those games, I mean, Kelly's a rookie and he runs hard, but he just doesn't have that it factor. That he's not shifty. He's just a straight line runner, kind of like a bulldozer. But Balaj can give. He's big. He's 6'2" for a running back. He's tall. He's pretty quick, and he just I don't know what it didn't happen in Miami and it didn't happen in New York. I don't know if it was the coaches or what, but he's got talent. He could be a starting running back in this league, you know. So he's got his chance. So right now it looks like he's taking advantage of it.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
it's somebody from kind of the outside looking in who doesn't watch any Chargers games. He looks like a pretty good pickup. You know, I'll say that. We know he's going to be the starter probably going forward because he's had 2 good games in a row. So, you know, good pickup. You know, I'll just piggyback up whenever Smoking Joe said, you know, I'll trust his input, you know, and if you have him on your squad, you know, that's a good flex or even an RB2 for some weaker teams.
Yeah, no matter what, you always want to have a starting running back.
Yeah.
Like you can't replace those touches anywhere. And he's the guy.
Like Mike Davis at the beginning of the year, dude. He
Yeah.
was like top running back for like the first couple of weeks, you know, when CMC was out. He was putting up RB1 numbers. He was, you know, like as of late, since his role diminished a little bit, it hasn't been so great. But that guy, Mike Davis, was a good pickup at the beginning of the year, you know. And James Robinson, you know, when Fournette got released, look at James Robinson now. He's top 5 running back too, you know. So if you're a starting running back, you're gonna get touches and you're gonna put up fantasy numbers. So.
Yeah, definitely, man. This is going a lot longer than we projected it would go.
We got a lot of shopping talk, man.
What happened to 10
Yeah.
second takes, man?
I know,
I know,
man. We thought we were prepared again, but this time we took it even further. Man, like I had a long list for a name game, but I think
Let's save it for next week then.
Yeah.
I
Same
think
for
we're
next
gonna
week.
save.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna save it for next week.
Mhm.
Still remaining is Kenyon Drake, J.D. McKissick, Damian Harris. Those are kind of the guys we'll touch on next week. But hey, we'll cut this one short here, and hit you guys real quick with any final thoughts, man. We couldn't even get into any possible trade type of. Next podcast will be on Tuesday. We will be on live, so we will send out a link. It'll be posted on Instagram. You guys can request to get. We'll be on live. We'll probably say about maybe from 8 to 10, maybe 7 to 10 around there. We'll be on live. We'll be recording the podcast, and you guys could chime in and talk trade talk, make your own favorite, submit your own trades, and we'll try to communicate and try to get those teams involved, and it'll be down to like the last few hours of the deadline, which is next Wednesday at noon. So we'll do that. That should be fun. You guys can all chime in if you want. If not, you'll listen to it later. But other than that, man, we'll just shoot around real quick. Final thoughts. We'll wrap it up here. Go ahead, Steve. You got it. Final thoughts. Anything else you got?
Yeah, you know, just we've already gone over it, but a lot of must-win games for a lot of teams this week. Moves can still be made. You know, if you're not comfortable with what you got, you should probably make a move. If you're good with what you got, best of luck to you. So that's all I really got.
Brody, go hit it.
Yeah, everybody's still in contention. Just keep making your adjustments. Keep picking up some players off the wire. Nobody's out, so just keep hope alive. You know, it's a strange season. Strange things can happen. First can be first, but last could actually get in the playoffs. So just hold on to that.
All right, Smoking Joe.
Not much. Just good luck to everybody. Like I said, a couple crucial matchups this week, and Hope everyone puts out their best lineup and makes as many moves as they can to get them that winning edge this weekend.
Yeah. I guess my final thoughts are just keep pushing. This week is gonna be a fun week because coming next week is gonna look entirely different, man. So there's still time to make moves before this Sunday, or you want to save it till next week. Like I said, we'll be live, and that link will be sent out to everybody in the league, and they can feel free to chime in within those 2-3 hours that we as a group here will establish later. Good luck to you all. Stay classy, stay humble. And we out, gentlemen.
All right, man. Everybody
right.
take care.
All right, peace.
Peace.
Peace.